Hey everybody, it's Coach Pat here. Episode 3, Part 2. I made it back from Happy Valley, a road trip, that live show that we did down there in State College. I give a shout out to my wife, Miss Terry, and my daughter, Gianna, for having us, hosting us down there this weekend, and for being part of my live show there in Happy Valley. Thank you very much for all your help. I just wanted to elaborate some more on the topic I was talking about down at State College, and that was the whole sportsmanship thing. You know, this not being able to shake hands after games because you can't control the athletes. Come on, parents, coaches, players, what are we doing? Come on, we got to be better than that. Okay, we got to be able to honor that tradition of lining up and shaking hands and tip your cap. You know, there's got to be a winner, there's got to be a loser, all right? But you have to respect each other at the end of the game, at the end of the match, whatever the sport may be. You have to have that ultimate respect that you left it on the field, and you know, you shake hands and you go on and you find a way to get better. Win or lose, you have to find a way to get better. Okay, so come on, we can't be bending, shaking hands and so forth. We have to be better than that. And we have to be better role models and better coaches and better parents. Okay, that's really what I wanted to discuss about the whole sportsmanship thing. And then about the firing of coaches, come on. Just fired another coach today. College sports, look, I'm all for getting the NIL money and earning their keep and the money they bring into the schools. But let's not lose sight that these athletes, and mostly in the football realm is what we're dealing with, but these athletes are getting a free college education. Come on, a free college education. In some cases, that's worth $250,000, $250,000, okay? So that's money in their pockets that they get to keep, that other people like my children and your children and middle class children, non-athletes, have to pay to get that same education. Okay? So let's not lose sight of that. We can still give them some money, but it doesn't have to be ridiculous amounts of money. Okay? We got to get grips of this NIL. And the firing of coaches, come on, it's college athletics. Okay? You know, look, you can blame coaches, you can blame referees, but we got to be better role models than that. We can't be blaming referees for every time our kid loses a game or gets called out or you know, gets a penalty on them. I don't care what the case is. You can't always be blaming the refs, all right? They're doing a job. Nobody comes into your job and yells and screams at you when you make a mistake. You know, so remember that's them doing their jobs, and in some cases these are kids doing an adult's job. Okay, so you know we got to find a better way than just firing coaches, especially at an educational higher institution that's supposed to be there for learning. All right, and for getting an education, and I know on the athletic fields we've talked about you can get an education on the athletic fields. All right, but we have to start, you know, stop firing people and paying them $50 million to go lie on a beach somewhere and send their paycheck. And make them honor their contract, right? And sit down at the end of the season and find a better way to dissolve the circumstances or the position, okay? Without costing the regular students and the other kids that are at the school, that money's just gonna come out of their pockets. It's crazy. It's gotta stop. It has to stop, okay? And let's not forget about this past World Series last night. Wow. Whether you're a baseball fan, a Dodger fan, a Blue Jay fan, or not a baseball fan, it was definitely one of the best World Series, one of the greatest World Series we've seen in a long time. And it touched on some of the things I touched on in my first episode, and that is those life lessons of never giving up. All right, never getting down on yourself and persevering and fighting through and never say never. Okay, well, these men just showed that out on the baseball field in almost every game they played. right? But they learned those lessons when they were 13 years old, when they were 9 years old, when they were 10 years old. They didn't learn those lessons when they started this series. Those lessons were lessons that were taught to them when they were young athletes playing multiple sports, right? And they bring those lessons to their profession. And like Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. And kudos to both those teams, but especially to the Dodgers for doing what they did. Okay, look, it was great having a live show down in Happy Valley. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I know I did, and you never know where I might be next week. All right, and then we'll start talking about following up with some traditions and Thanksgiving and so forth that we have to continue on, and we can't see go by the wayside, like shaking hands at the end of games because we can't control the athletes. Come on, be better than that. All right. Be better than that. Everybody out there, be better than that, all right? Hey, be happy, be kind, and make sure you get out and vote tomorrow. All right. Coach Pat back here in New Jersey after my road trip to Happy Valley, signing off. Episode 3, Part 2 is now over. Everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.